You think you've heard all serial killers, kidnappings, twisted motives, but these crimes? These are different. These aren't just unsolved, they feel impossible. A killer who left behind coded messages, but no fingerprints. A family wiped out while the murderer stayed behind to eat leftovers. A child found in a box. No name, no identity, and no one missing him. For years, police searched, clues unraveled, theories went viral, and still no answers. These 10 cases aren't cold. They're frozen in fear. And once you hear them, you won't sleep the same. Case number 10, the Ist Alto Woman. November 29, 1970. A hiker and his 2 daughters are walking through a remote area just outside Bergen, Norway, a steep, forested trail known by locals as Istalen or Death Valley. The air is cold, crisp, but something smells wrong. Something chemical. Then they see it, a body, lying among the stones, burned. Around her, a collection of personal items. A fur hat, a watch, a few plastic bottles. All labels have been scratched off or melted. Even the fingerprints had been intentionally sanded down. Police arrive and uncover stranger details. The woman had taken a massive dose of sleeping pills. Dozens of them. Her belongings had been carefully arranged, not scattered like a struggle, but placed. Intentional, clinical, almost staged. But it gets weirder. Investigators trace her movements and find that she checked into hotels across Norway using at least 9 different fake names. She altered her appearance regularly, wigs, different glasses, new accents. She always paid in cash. And every time she checked in, she asked for a room with a balcony. Who was she watching? Or who was watching her? Autopsy reports showed sleeping pills in her system and soot in her lungs, meaning she was alive when she burned. And yet, authorities rushed to rule it a suicide. But experts found signs that contradicted that entirely. Missing identification, deliberate erasure of labels, and bizarre coded notes in her luggage. One note listed dates, destinations, and seemingly meaningless strings of letters. Some believe it was a travel log, others a cipher. The case screamed Cold War espionage. Some speculated she was a spy, possibly East German, Russian, or part of a secret European intelligence ring. But no country ever claimed her. No missing person matched her face. No fingerprints. No family. In the end, she was buried in an unmarked grave, alone. No name. Just a silver plaque that reads, Ukjinkven, unknown woman. 50 years later, the mystery of the Ist Alto Woman remains frozen in time. Who she was, why she came, and what she was running from, no one knows. But someone somewhere does. Case number 9, the Setagaya family murders. December 30th, 2000, Tokyo, Japan. The Miyazawa family lives in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Setagaya. A married couple, their 8-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son. The home is peaceful, tucked between a small park and a soon-to-be-demolished skate facility. But in the early hours of that winter morning, their peace was shattered. All 4 members of the Miyazawa family were brutally murdered, stabbed, bludgeoned. The father, Mikio, fought back and suffered fatal head trauma. The mother, Yasuko, and their young children were stabbed repeatedly. No one survived. And here's the part that defies explanation. The killer didn't flee. He stayed inside the home for hours. He used the family's computer. He ate their food, drinking 4 bottles of barley tea and eating ice cream from a freezer. He even used their toilet and didn't flush. He changed clothes, leaving his bloodied outfit behind. He left behind gloves, a knife, and even skin cells. The scene was so bizarre, so personal, that detectives believed the killer either knew the family or wanted to insert himself into their lives one final time. But when the investigation began, nothing made sense. The DNA didn't match any known record in Japan. Not a single fingerprint in the house matched a criminal database. The clothing he left behind mass-produced, but traced back to only a few hundred buyers in Japan and Korea. He wore cologne, used a type of sand in his bag that could only be found in a specific region of the US, and carried a knife not commonly sold in Japan. Everything about him felt out of place, like a ghost who wandered in from somewhere else. Somewhere no one could track. The case shook Japan to its core. This wasn't just a murder, it was a massacre carried out with chilling calm and no clear motive. The killer took no money, no valuables. He just came to destroy and lingered in the horror he made. Every year since, police have released public pleas, hoping anyone might recognize a clue. But over 2 decades later, not one credible suspect has ever been named. The house where it happened still stands, empty, untouched, a silent monument to a mystery that still bleeds beneath the surface of Japan's safest city. Case number 8, The Boy in the Box. February 25th, 1957. A college student in Philadelphia walks through a wooded area known for illegal dumping. He sees a box, large, tattered, with a picture of a baby bassinet printed on the side. Inside is a child, a young boy no older than 4 or 5, wrapped in a plaid blanket. His hair had been crudely chopped, possibly after death. His small frame showed signs of long-term malnourishment. His body was covered in scars, old and new, and his expression blank. Not peaceful, not afraid, just frozen. There was no missing persons report. No one claimed him. Police released photos of his face, even dressed his body in fresh clothes for public viewings, begging someone to identify him. Nothing. No family. No name. No origin. He became known only as America's unknown child. For years, investigators followed lead after lead. A foster home nearby was scrutinized. A theory about a traveling carnival. A woman later claimed she knew who he was, that her mother had sold him, tortured him, and dumped him like trash. But even that confession went nowhere. They looked into the blanket, the brush, the box. All common items found in thousands of homes. Nothing unique, nothing traceable. DNA advances in recent years brought hope. In 2022, investigators finally connected his DNA to a family line. They gave him a name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. But even that answer raised more questions. His parents are both deceased. His siblings were never told he existed. And how he ended up discarded in a box alone is still a mystery no one can solve. The boy in the box wasn't just forgotten. He was erased before the world ever knew who he was. For 65 years, the question was, who is he? Now we ask, who did this to him? And why? Case number 7. The Long Island serial killer, Lisk. In December 2010, a Suffolk County police officer and his cadaver dog were searching for a missing woman near Gilgo Beach, a remote stretch of highway flanked by marshland and sand dunes. They didn't find the woman they were looking for. Instead, they found a body wrapped in burlap. Then another, and another. By the end of the week, 4 sets of female remains had been discovered. All of them sex workers. All of them had disappeared while meeting clients online. All of them had been discarded within feet of each other, hidden but not buried. But the horror didn't end there. Over the next year, investigators found at least 11 more bodies scattered along that same coastal strip. Some were entire skeletons. Others only torsos. Some had been dismembered, others wrapped in canvas or dumped near roadside brush. A few remains were later matched to body parts found years earlier in different counties. The message was clear. Someone had been doing this for a very long time, and no one noticed. The press named him the Long Island serial killer. Theories exploded. Was it one killer or two? Did they work in law enforcement? Did they know the terrain too well? The killing stopped as suddenly as they had started, and the investigation stalled, clouded by internal scandals, mishandled leads, and years of silence. Then, in 2023, after over a decade of dead ends, a major break. A suspect named Rex Hoyman was arrested, a married architect from Massapequa, with children and a home just 30 minutes from Gilgo Beach. He fit the profile eerily well. DNA linked him to some of the original 4 victims. A burner phone trail connected him to online accounts. He was charged, but the other bodies? The dismembered ones? The children? The Asian male? Still unsolved. Still unanswered. Some say Lisk was one man. Others are convinced he was just one of them. That more are out there. That they're still using the highways. Still hunting. The chilling part isn't just how many victims there were. It's how long the killer went unseen. Case number 6. The disappearance of Mora Murray. February 9th, 2004. Mora Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, packs up her dorm room, emails her professors about a fabricated family emergency, withdraws money from an ATM, buys alcohol, and disappears. That afternoon, she crashes her black Saturn into a snowbank off Route 112 in rural New Hampshire. A local bus driver stops to help. She insists she already called for roadside assistance, even though there's no cell service in the area. Minutes later, the police arrive. Mora is gone. Her car is locked. Her belongings still inside. Wallet, snacks, books, alcohol, her stuffed animal. The driver's side windshield is cracked. The airbags are deployed. Footprints? Gone, likely swallowed by the snow. In the following days, search teams combed the woods. Helicopters flew overhead. Dogs tracked her scent for only a few feet. Then nothing. It's as if she vanished into thin air. But the story didn't end there. It multiplied. The internet caught on. Forums exploded. Reddit threads, blogs, podcasts, YouTube theories, all dissecting Mora's final days. Some pointed to her mysterious behavior leading up to her disappearance. A car crash days before. A credit card fraud charge. A disturbing phone call while she was working. Others believe she may have been fleeing abuse or seeking a new identity. Some claim she was picked up by a stranger. Others believe she walked into the woods to die. A few believe she planned it all, that Mora is still out there living a different life far from the noise. But the deeper you look, the more fragmented the story becomes. Witnesses contradict each other. Timelines shift. Clues unravel. And 20 years later, her family is still searching. No confirmed sighting. No body. Case number 5, the JonBenet Ramsey case. December 26, 1996. Boulder, Colorado. A quiet suburban home the morning after Christmas. Patsy Ramsey, mother of 6-year-old JonBenet, finds a handwritten ransom note claiming her daughter has been kidnapped. The note demands $118,000, the exact amount of her husband's recent Christmas bonus. But the horror would take a deeper turn. Just hours later, JonBenet is found not outside, not at a ransom drop, but in the basement of the family's own home. Strangled, bludgeoned, duct tape over her mouth, a cord around her neck, her favorite white nightgown nearby. The investigation collapses almost immediately. Evidence is compromised. Friends and neighbors were allowed to walk through the house before police locked it down. The body was moved, the crime scene tainted, and the public? They didn't see a grieving family. They saw suspects. Patsy and John Ramsey, a wealthy couple. Their daughter, JonBenet, a child beauty queen, paraded on national stages in full makeup and glittering dresses. The press painted a story. Was it a jealous sibling? An angry parent? A staged kidnapping gone wrong? The ransom note itself became a puzzle, oddly specific, using strange movie references, and written inside the house on paper from the family's own notepad. Investigators split into factions. Some believed the Ramseys were guilty, covering up an accident or worse. Others insisted the real killer broke in through the basement window. But no intruder was ever identified. No prints, no DNA match, no confession. Years passed. Theories changed. A teacher falsely confessed. The parents were cleared by DNA in 2008, but the public had already decided. And JonBenet? Her image lived on not as a daughter or a little girl, but as a tabloid fixture, a symbol of everything wrong with fame, wealth, and justice. To this day, no one has ever been arrested for her murder. The house has since been sold. The parents are gone, but her face, bright, wide-eyed, and frozen in time, still stares back from every cold case file. We may never know who killed JonBenet Ramsey, but someone does. Case number 4, the Tylenol murders. September 1982, Chicago. A 12-year-old girl, Mary Kellerman, wakes up with a sore throat. Her parents give her a single capsule of Tylenol. Hours later, she's dead. The same day, a postal worker named Adam Janis collapses and dies. Then his brother and sister-in-law, who had taken Tylenol from the same bottle while grieving, die the same way. By the end of the week, 7 people were dead, all perfectly healthy, all killed by extra-strength Tylenol capsules laced with potassium cyanide. The capsules looked perfectly normal, but inside, a lethal dose of one of the deadliest poisons known to man. There was no warning, no odd smell, no discoloration. Victims were dead within minutes, and the killer left no fingerprints, no note, no motive. Panic erupted across the country. People stopped buying over-the-counter medication. Pharmacies pulled Tylenol from shelves. Police cruised the streets with bullhorns, warning residents not to take it. Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturer, recalled over 31 million bottles, a move that cost the company over $100 million, but likely saved its reputation. The incident led to massive changes in packaging, tamper-evident seals, child-proof caps, and nationwide product safety laws. But the question remains, who did it? Several suspects were investigated, including a man who tried to extort Johnson & Johnson for $1 million, but his link to the actual poisonings was never proven. The Tylenol murders remain one of the most infamous unsolved mass killings in American history. The scariest part? This wasn't personal. It wasn't targeted. It was random. The killer didn't choose his victims. He just chose the bottle. Case number 3, the Black Dalia murder. January 15th, 1947, Los Angeles. A young mother walks her daughter through a vacant lot near Limer Park. At first glance, it looks like a discarded mannequin. Then she sees the blood. The body is that of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, an aspiring actress from Massachusetts. Her corpse is mutilated with a level of precision so disturbing that even hardened police officers couldn't stomach the sight. Her internal organs had been removed and cleaned. Her body was scrubbed, posed, and placed just feet from the sidewalk in broad daylight. There were no signs of struggle at the scene. No drag marks, no blood around the body. It was as if she had been killed, cleaned, transported, and displayed. The press named her the Black Dalia, a nod to her black clothing in a noir film that had recently released. Within days, Elizabeth Short's face was everywhere. Her past picked apart, her reputation stained. They painted her as a temptress, a drifter, a femme fatale, even though she was, in truth, a young woman looking for work and stability. Over 150 suspects were interrogated. Dozens of false confessions poured in, from attention seekers to mentally ill men, all craving infamy. But the most chilling suspect? A surgeon, Dr. George Hodel, a wealthy, influential physician with a dark history. He fled to the Philippines during the investigation. Years later, his own son, a former LAPD detective, claimed he had found evidence implicating his father. Tapes, photos, a secret room, even handwriting matching the taunting letters sent to newspapers after the murder. But no charges were ever filed. The crime remains officially unsolved. The Black Dahlia was more than just a murder. She became a myth, a mystery, a magnet for conspiracy. But beneath the headlines and the hype was a real woman, with dreams, with fears, with a life that ended in silence and spectacle. Whoever killed her wanted the world to see, and nearly 80 years later we still do. Case number 2, the Zodiac Killer. In December 1968, 2 teenagers parked on a quiet stretch of road outside Vallejo, California, were shot dead with no warning. 6 months later, it happened again, another couple, another secluded spot. But this time, the killer called the police himself to report the crime. Calm, clear, almost proud, he would soon be known as the Zodiac Killer, a name he gave himself in a letter sent to the press, signed with a strange crosshair symbol. The letter contained details only the killer could know, and it wouldn't be the last. The Zodiac sent dozens of letters to newspapers, police, and television stations, filled with insults, threats, and most famously ciphers. Encrypted puzzles claiming to contain his identity, philosophy, and sixth sense of purpose. One cipher took decades to solve. Others remain a mystery to this day. He claimed to have killed 37 people, but only 5 victims have been officially linked to him. His attacks were cold and chaotic. Sometimes he wore a mask. Sometimes he stabbed instead of shooting. In one infamous case, he tied up a couple by a lake and carved his symbol into their car door before vanishing into the trees. Despite a massive investigation, thousands of suspects, over 2,500 pages of case files, and nationwide attention, the Zodiac was never caught. In 2020, a group of codebreakers finally cracked one of his most infamous ciphers. It read, "I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." And still no name, no arrest, no closure. Theories range from jilted lovers to disgruntled veterans. Some say he died long ago. Others believe he's still alive, watching, reading, maybe even still writing. The Zodiac didn't just kill. He performed. Every letter, every murder, every cipher was a game of power, a performance of fear. And we, the police, the press, the public, were his audience. It's been over 50 years since he first wrote, and we're still trying to finish the sentence. Case number 1, Jack the Ripper. August 1888. London's East End, Whitechapel. A crowded slum of the industrial age. Filthy, poor, forgotten, and something evil had just stepped into the mist. It began with the murder of Marion Nichols. Her throat slit, her abdomen mutilated. Less than a week later, another woman, Annie Chapman, was found in the same condition. Organs missing. It wasn't just murder. It was surgical, intentional, performed. The press gave him a name, Jack the Ripper, taken from a taunting letter, scrawled in red ink, addressed to the Central News Agency. Soon more letters followed, mocking police, describing the murders. One letter came with a piece of a human kidney. His victims were all women, impoverished sex workers from the streets of Whitechapel. And by the time the 5th was found, Mary Jane Kelly, the city was paralyzed. Her body was so mutilated that even seasoned investigators couldn't stomach the sight. Police interviewed over 2,000 people, investigated 300, detained more than 80. But no one was ever charged. Suspects included everyone from local butchers to painters to members of the royal family. Some believe Jack was a failed doctor, Others, a foreigner who escaped unnoticed. Some say the letters were hoaxes. Others claim they were the killer's final performance. The murders stopped as suddenly as they began. But the legend never did. Jack the Ripper wasn't just a killer. He was a ghost that slipped between gas lamps and cobblestones, a phantom that rewrote what fear could look like. More than 130 years later, he remains the darkest chapter in criminal history, and the most famous name on the list of those who got away with murder. Dozens of lives, hundreds of unanswered questions. From the foggy alleys of Victorian London to the snowy woods of New Hampshire, these are more than cold cases. They are unsolved scars left on cities, families, and history itself. Some of these killers vanished without a trace. Others may still walk among us, shopping beside you, watching this video right now. Time erodes evidence. Memories fade, but stories endure. And as long as these stories are told, these victims are not forgotten. Which case haunted you the most? Drop a comment, your theory, your suspicion, or the one clue you think was missed. Someone out there knows something, and maybe that someone is you. Well, don't forget to like this video if you want more true crime countdowns. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next case that still keeps detectives awake.